Let's freaking go. Tennessee fans, come a little closer. It's going to be okay. All right. We've got to talk about these Vols. Do we still believe this team could go to the college football playoff? And we're also going to talk about the importance of actually watching the games. So, I want to start by issuing an apology to each and every one of you, whoever you're are watching this right now. I honestly thought Tennessee, coming off a bye week, would hand the Hogs a butt whooping. I really did. I didn't think it would be like what you did to Kent State. Obviously, we'll probably never see that again. But I thought it was going to be like a 30-13 kind of game, and this Tennessee offense have, their breakout. But I should have actually paid attention to what I saw on film, which was a very flawed quarterback situation, and that's where we will start today. NICO obviously did not have a great game whatsoever. And we could talk about all the other factors that affected that. But, the Tennessee offense, we put so much on the Oklahoma game being that they just wanted to protect the playbook and the game was under control because Oklahoma's offense was just absolutely abysmal. And a lot of that is indeed true. But the Tennessee offense, if you actually just watched them, you know that they had played 2 games versus really bad teams, Kent State and Chattanooga. And then on top of that, the NC State game, we see what NC State has become. They're absolutely terrible. A pick six is what really blew that game open. So, look, we aren't in panic mode if you're a Tennessee fan, but you are a little bit back down to reality. And maybe NICO is a little bit closer to a Jackson Arnold than he is a Garrett Nussmeier, if you will. But it was a really rough performance. And I know so much of our film study focused on that final drive, but man, you've got to at least throw the football up and give your guy a chance to go out there and win the game for you. So don't forget, every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Central, we will be live chatting Tennessee Vols. And let's go ahead and change the color here. Bang to some Megan Maroney Tennessee orange here. So, look, I'm not totally off the Tennessee bandwagon. The defense is still really good up front. Secondary, of course, had their issues versus a talented group of Arkansas wide receivers. But you do have this period here where you now have to get ready for Florida. And Florida is a team that's playing better. Florida is a team that's had a wide range of results. They have played in some defensive struggles. At the same time, they have played in some frenzied games like the ones versus Mississippi State. So obviously, Tennessee arguably played their worst game of the season last year versus Florida on the road in Gainesville. And then, of course, in 2022, that game got kind of weird as well. But truth be told, I do think Tennessee bounce backs, and I do think they'll take care of business versus Florida, and then you get to Alabama. So now with the Arkansas loss, Tennessee fans, you've got to win the rest of your games and basically split Alabama and Georgia. You're not going to win both of those games. I don't think any single one of you watching this right now, even if you're the biggest Tennessee fan, you believe that you're going to win both of these games. You'll more than likely split. Also, I think Tennessee fans needed a punch in the mouth of reality because, look, that Oklahoma game felt pretty big. Josh Heupel going up against Oklahoma, his former team where he won a national championship. And then that whole weekend, right, was just insane in Neyland Stadium. You had the Friday night Morgan Wallen concert, then the Saturday night game, and then you're flying back Sunday and you're walking in one of the biggest artists alive. It kind of felt like that moment was just so big, and that whole weekend, even with the bye week, kind of hung over into the Arkansas game. Something else that happened was, let's be fair here, not all of it was on NICO. We saw what Dylan Sampson did. Dylan Sampson really was solid in this game. But the Tennessee offensive line just had an absolutely crappy day. and most notably the offensive tackle play. This is something that Josh Heupel's going to need to figure out, okay? And look, I'll be real with you. And I want to be as honest as I can in all my evaluations. And we'll get to all your comments here in just a second. Philip, Volcano, I see both of you waiting. This is the second straight year where Tennessee has had really bad offensive tackle play on the road. And I'm talking about true road environments. Last year, of course, your offensive tackle play was really bad. You really felt the departure of Darnell Wright to the first round of the Chicago Bears. And we all just kind of chalked that up to injuries and it being a not so great batch. Obviously, one of the players whose name slips my mind, I think it was number 54, transferred to Florida or something like that. And you went out and you spent and you got guys that you could trust. One in Lance Hurd, a 5-star backup who only didn't see the field at LSU because they have, 2 early round draft picks at offensive tackle. He comes over and it's just been a disaster. You have this weird injury situation and then you finally get him healthy and he played about as bad as you could have played in crunch time versus Arkansas. And I love Lance. I do. Lance is a very good football player. But you could tell that he had been missing time and the pressure and the fatigue of the game really got to him, especially later in the game when his pass sets became very stale. And then 74, Campbell had a tough night, whether it was twists, stunts, bull rushes. The problem is they couldn't do anything right, if we're being honest. And, I shared this yesterday on my Arkansas live stream, and if some Hawk fans are in here, I know this is going to sound like a repeat from yesterday, but the simple truth, the hardest position to play in true road games is offensive tackle. I've always believed that. It is the position that becomes that much harder to play when you're on the road compared to when you're at home. If you're an offensive guard, it's a little bit easier because you could still see the ball. I mean, you're right next to the center. You could still feel the center. Offensive tackle, you really can't, right? Especially the way Tennessee, uses their offensive tackles. A lot of times you're going to be on islands, right? Tennessee likes to spread their receivers out. And one of the downsides of spreading your receivers out is when you don't run bunch formations, ends don't ever have to worry about, receiver traffic to when they pass rush. And man, it was just tough. It was just really, really tough. Now, did Arkansas have good defensive end play? Yeah, Lena Jackson is going to get drafted, but the other ends were fine. Like they had not been as spectacular as they were versus Tennessee. So any Tennessee fan that watched that game, they could tell you that we really need better offensive tackle play. Now I say I'm not a Tennessee fan, nor am I an Arkansas fan, but I did release a tweet and some of you sent me some kind messages. I really want to thank 3 fan bases here. Obviously, Tennessee fans. Before I get into some of your questions, I'm so glad that you guys have welcomed me into your fan base. I just try to give you an objective viewpoint of the team. And I can't wait to catch a game in Neyland next year. It's definitely a bucket list item to go to a game. The night games look just so majestic. And then I also want to thank Arkansas fans and Oklahoma fans. We'll do more Texas A&M content. One of our Texas A&M videos went off this weekend with Connor Wigman. I love watching Connor Wigman play quarterback. But I really love covering this team. And I'm not just saying this to placate it because I take LSU out of the equation with what I'm about to say because I'm biased towards LSU fans. I also take Arkansas out of this because I played high school ball in Arkansas and a lot of my friends are at Arkansas. Taking those 2 teams out and even objectively speaking, including those 2 teams, Tennessee, you have the best fans. You really do have the best fans. I'm not just saying this just to you. You guys are so freaking awesome. Some of you are absolutely wild. Some of you are absolutely insane about your team. But no team authentically loves their Vols like Tennessee fans love their Vols. So I really, really, really do appreciate that. Okay? So let's get to some of the questions. Philip, good to see you, my friend. What did Tennessee do the same as Arkansas? No players. Huh? No playoffs, excuse me. Let's go to Volcano. You think if Heupel is 8-4 again, you think Heupel is on the hot seat? Volcano. Mm. Tennessee could go 7-5 and Heupel not be on the hot seat. Are you kidding me? Hot seat for this guy and what he's done with the program? I no, he's nowhere close. It's just not. It's no. They're not even. No. There's a lot of reasons why. Okay, let's just say Tennessee falls apart. Okay, let's just and look, that's in the range of outcomes. All right, a lot of us, and I say a lot of us because LSU fans feel the same way. I'm scared of Vanderbilt. And imagine saying that in the year 2024. I am scared as hell of Vanderbilt. You should be too. Okay. Tennessee doesn't have a certain win on the schedule outside of Mississippi State and UTEP. All right. So you win those two games, you're baseline bowl eligible. Okay. You're going to a bowl game. So Tennessee is not going to finish anything less than 6-6. All right. And then you look at the rest of the games that they have here. Florida's a 60-40 game that I think you'll win and a bounce back. Alabama's a 40-60 game for you. I think once again it's 40-60. And then Kentucky at home. Heupel is just absolutely beating the crap out of Mark this over the years. Mississippi State. So, there's no. It's going to be really hard for Heupel to not get to 8. It's going to be really, really hard. I do think this team is going to be a 9-3 team and on the outside looking into the playoffs. All right. I think you lose to Alabama and Georgia, and you'll find a way. Okay. But Volcano, no. And look, I know I've come off as a guy who has favorites. All right. There are coaches that I think are a little bit better than other coaches, right? Like, I if I was a Power 4 coach, especially in a non-SEC conference, I would have already hired Travis Williams as my head coach because that guy is a real deal. The Arkansas defensive coordinator, I've already done it. I mean, he is recruiting at an extremely high level. He got the best Arkansas defensive recruit arguably ever just a few months ago before all this crap happened. So there are guys, and Travis Williams is also from the Gus Malzahn tree. I'm a huge Gus Malzahn guy. Huge, okay? So Josh Heupel, I'm a huge Josh Heupel guy. All right? I am a huge, huge, huge Josh Heupel fan and believer. So, yes, you did not think that this team was going to go 8-4. Right now, the most plausible scenario for Tennessee is 9-3. 9-3 is probably the most plausible place where Tennessee ends up this year. That's a really good record. Okay. And then you build for the future with NICO. Now, I do want to share one thing about Tennessee because, so much is being put on NICO's plate. The wide receiver room has been mostly a disappointment. Thornton has played really freaking well. I think a lot of Tennessee fans are happy with his development and so on and so on. I think Brew McCoy, who obviously has had his fair share of injury issues, I hope Squirrel White's okay. I've actually not looked at the Tennessee injury report. Plus, also, Josh Heupel is notoriously close to the vest with injuries. I normally don't even like to look at the injury report until later in the week anyway, because especially now that there's official SEC reports, I hope Squirrel White's okay, but even with that said, he's not taking the leap that a lot of people have expected. So, I thought this Tennessee wide receiver room was going to be a little bit better. I did. And obviously, I thought NICO was going to be a little bit better. But when you actually crunch NICO's numbers, we'll get to a few more questions here. What's up, Chris? You're dropping a WPS in here. Let's go. I lost a sub. See you later, Charles. I'm just kidding. Good to see you, man. Hey, it's good to see you, Philip, all day, every day. Let's take a look at NICO's numbers. You know, when the season started, I thought my lock of the year was a lock of the year with NICO going over his passing yard total. And now it's looking less and less likely he's going to get over that 2,500 yard mark unless he just goes nuclear these last couple of games. 314 yards to start things off versus Chattanooga, then only 211 yards versus NC State, where a lot of yards were left on the field. Kent State, obviously, since that game was such a blowout on the ground, you lost a lot of passing yards there. Oklahoma, that game was also a little bit of a blowout or a game where things got very stale pretty quickly. And obviously, Arkansas was just a disastrous performance from them. Part of NICO's downside is the rushing, right? I think a lot of fans thought that you were going to get a little bit more as a runner out of NICO, but that's not really his game. And guess what? That's okay. It really, really, really is. But it's been a mess. It's been a bit of a mess. So there you go. Now, let's talk about Tim Banks. That performance was mid. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. Tim Banks, if he was sitting here right now, he would probably say, or I don't think Tim Banks would say this because the great coaches don't make excuses, but let's be fair here from Tim Banks' perspective. He would say, hey, going into this game, if you would have told me, hey, we're holding them to 19 points, are we taking that all day, every day on the road? You better believe it. And Josh Heupel, if he sat right here, even if Arkansas outgained Tennessee in this game, 431 to 332, if Josh Heupel was sitting right here, he would say, hey, if they only scored 19 points with our program being an offensive identity program, we should be able to go out there and win the game. But you didn't. You didn't. So, truth be told, this wasn't the worst Tim Banks performance. You know, every year you're going to get an egg laid from Tim Banks in an inopportune spot. But at the same time, 431 yards is a lot more than you probably would have thought going into the game, right? So I don't know. How do you guys feel about Tim's performance in this Arkansas game? I've gone back and forth on it. I really have. I don't think it was bad. There were some really tight window throws that Arkansas was able to complete with a quarterback who had not really been a tight window thrower. But at the same time, 431 yards is a lot. I think that's more than what I have thunk going into that game. And look, maybe Arkansas's offense was just undervalued going into the game, which I think it was. So, you know, one other thing that I would say about Tim is, yes, the Tennessee offense was doing you absolutely zero favors, but you had an opportunity with the other team's backup quarterback out there to end the game. But not only was it the backup quarterback, it was the backup running back that was able to go out there and close you out. A redshirt freshman and a true freshman in a really, really difficult spot. So going into the game, I thought Tim Banks was the guy that deserved the Broyles Award out of anyone in the SEC. But now I think it should go to Bobby Petrino because I do think Banks was outcoached in this spot. Now, that doesn't mean he was bad. Don't get that twisted. I don't think he's been terrible. But, man, it was tough. I thought Tennessee defense was going to play better. I really, really, really did. Okay. Let's go to Charles. Performance might have been affected by the competition. Hogs have actually had a potentially great team this year. That's true. And One more thing, going into the game, Arkansas's offense had actually been better than Tennessee's offense. The Oklahoma State game was a thing of beauty from Bobby Petrino. Now, of course, we know Oklahoma State this year as an objectively bad team, but still, it is what it is at this point. Also, 36 minutes to 24 minutes in time of possession. We do turn the page, though, to the Florida Gators. This is a Florida team, like we said at the beginning, that's had some weird results. 24-13 versus UCF, 45-28 versus Mississippi State, 33-20 loss to Texas A&M, 45-7 versus Samford, 41-17 versus Miami. This is how I normally feel about teams that play weird random games with weird random scores. Is those types of teams don't really have identities, right? I'm a little bit more open to that happening in the NFL, but in college, Florida has never really played any certain style or brand of football. And to me, what that means is you're not really that good of a team. Tennessee currently sitting as a 16-point favorite. The over-under set at 54.5. Obviously, with how these teams are playing right now, most of you are probably taking the under. I see some 15.5s mixed in here and some 55.5 over-unders as well. It's fascinating, to say the least. Fascinating. Final thing before we get to your questions. I mean this sincerely. To our Tennessee viewers and our nationwide viewers affected by the hurricane, coming from someone who has a lot of family in South Louisiana, I was lucky enough not as affected by Katrina as many of my peers and family members, but y'all need to evacuate. If you're in an area that's about to get hit by this thing, if this is your final call, I feel like it is a disservice for me to not say it. I know it's like an obvious state the obvious kind of thing. This is not something you want to mess with. It's just not. And I don't want to lecture you on something that's very negative. I know I am the escape for a lot of you from, your everyday life, but you guys don't. It's not. I don't care how flood proof your house is. If they tell you to get the F out of Dodge, you go. Okay. Let's take a few more. Dylan Sampson is the second best running back in college football. My thing is he even the second best running back in the SEC? I don't know. Jaquindon Jackson's up there. Etienne is definitely up there. Le'Veon Moss has showed some real juice. Let's see. Who else would I put up there? This year in the SEC, it's not really that strong of a running back year. You lost Cody Schrader. Texas had their RB injuries. It's just been a tough RB year. Lawson said, I called it, bro. I said Arkansas would beat Tennessee but lose to Texas. Hopefully I'm wrong about the latter. Jay says, the Hogs are a top 5 team. I won't go that far. Top 5 team. Let's go to Godly. Tennessee finally played someone that wasn't a cupcake. Offense is playing and defense is ass. Let's stop pretending that they are good now. Godly says, go Dogs. Let's see. Hmm. Here's one from Michael. It says, Carter, what do you think about Georgia and what happened today? Okay. This is Twitter DM. This is not a Georgia live stream, but this would be my proposed solution for all of this. And I would actually apply this at any program that I'm coaching at. Okay. I want to talk LSU Ole Miss. Well, Philip, I'll do that tonight on my LSU channel. But LSU's defense is not good. But I don't know how good Ole Miss's offense actually is. Jay says Hogs will beat LSU with the bye week and then treating it as their Super Bowl. I could see it. I could definitely see it. But let's have a conversation about player discipline. Now, I don't know all the facts of what happened to what's his name, Young, for Georgia, the Miami transfer. I don't know. But why does this always happen at Georgia? I'm serious. I mean, this is the second wide receiver this year. The second wide receiver this year that's been arrested for battery. Okay. So, and the first one got kicked off. So I don't know what's going to happen here. I really don't. But I do have an out-of-the-box solution to this, and an out-of-the-box solution to any and all discipline issues. If you mess up, you have bad grades, you're late to practice, you're late to team meetings, you lose your single-digit number privileges. Now, I know that sucks for fans because you buy these players' jerseys, but go to any football game now, and rarely do you see, and I'm just being honest, maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe Tennessee is just full of NICO number 8 uniforms, but I have a feeling that you'll go to a game and you'll see more like kind of throwback uniforms, like some number 16 Peyton Manning uniforms or, number 5 Hendon Hooker uniform. I don't see a lot of current player uniforms. Whatever the case may be, though, take away a player's single-digit jersey number when they mess up, and then when they come back to play, they have to wear an obscure jersey number that makes you think that that player is a walk-on. So Young, who is number 8, when he comes back, which I think he might, I don't know, he's got to for the rest of the season wear jersey number 48 or jersey number 37 or something like that. Because every single player wants a single-digit jersey number. Give it to someone else. And I guarantee you that the discipline problems will go down. I know that sounds crazy. I don't know if you can find players. I don't know if you can do that. Because it does open up a whole box of worms, right? Like if a player gets ejected for targeting, do you fine him $1,000 or whatever? But the single-digit jersey number thing, ask anyone, right? Squirrel White was number 10. Single-digit opened up. He went straight to number 3. And then Mike Matthews was wearing a jersey number in the 80s. When a lower digit number opened up, he took Squirrel White's number 10. Players want the lowest digit jersey number possible. If you act up, you lose it. Go look at who most of the players that have gotten in trouble at Georgia are. They're single digits. Okay? There's an aura. There's an aesthetic. At least experiment with it, and you will see players will think twice about speeding. I know they should quit speeding and doing other things for the sake of it not being good. Okay. Lawson says take away their NIL. Can't do that. Because there would need to be a little bit more transparency. Okay. Let's go to Payne. It's college. It shouldn't matter what number you have. It does, though, Payne. And for some reason, this take that I have always gets pushback. I'm not saying from you, but just in general, anytime I have a hardcore jersey number take, or I just state aloud how important the single digit number is or the lower digit number, people push back. I'm not saying, once again, I'm not saying you are. I think you're just saying, hey, it shouldn't matter what jersey number you are. It very much does matter to the players. You mess up, you get caught speeding, you miss practice, you're late for meetings. That week, you're not wearing number 3. You're wearing number 43. You're wearing number 37, something that a walk-on gets or a kicker. Let's go to Ty, and we'll take a few more in the next few minutes. NIL should be able to go down for behavioral issues since using someone's likeness for promotion of a business makes a business supporting look bad when the player messes up. Yeah, I mean, that happens in the real world, right? Sponsors drop players all the time for these kinds of things. The problem is, like, and I have to be careful with saying this because I caused a frenzy saying this a while back, but when the first bit of like revenue sharing news was starting to leak, a booster texted me saying, hey, NIL is going away. And I understood what he was saying. He was saying, hey, NIL in name, image, and likeness is going away. Revenue sharing is coming and players are just going to get paid a salary. So basically, we need to get rid of the NIL name, right? If you're going to sign autographs for money, yes, that is name, image, and likeness, but players just want to get paid, period. Okay? They are there to play football. There's not many players on Tennessee's team or on any team that goes out there and sells product, moves needles, sells tickets, okay? It comes down to you getting paid for your labor. In this case, players actually playing this very dangerous game. Okay. Now, that'll just about do it for me. Appreciate all the love here on the Tennessee live stream. We'll go a little bit shorter today because obviously this is a bye week, and I want each and every Tennessee fan that's affected by the floods and everything like that, just know I'm here with you, and you're all in our thoughts. But please evacuate especially if you're in Florida. Listen to your local, state, and even national officials, okay? It is Power Hour SEC. Boom. Don't forget, connect with me on Twitter at Carter the Power. And tonight, speaking of orange, we're doing some buffalo chicken. Let's go. Let's go.